sections of the Talmud is the discussion about the oven of Achnoi, about a certain oven, if its status is pure, impure, and maybe the subject matter isn't something you would find as fascinating as the way the Gemara comes to conclusion about this subject. We have the sages all opposing the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer, and famously, although he is against the majority, he maintains his view. And although the Torah says Acher Elab Mahate is supposed to follow the majority, he is confident that his opinion is the halacha, and he's so confident that he does various miracles to prove that his opinion is correct. But to top off all the miracles that he does, a stream of water flowing in a different direction, the walls of the synagogue that they're in starting to cave down, but those are negligible compared to the final feat that he does to prove the authenticity of his view. He says, let a voice come out from heaven. Let the voice come out from heaven and say who is actually correct. And indeed, a voice comes out from heaven, and it says that the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer is correct. So, what do the sages do when that happens? So the Gemara says that Yeshua stood on his feet, and he said, the Torah was given at Mount Sinai, and therefore we do not pay attention to voices from heaven. That's what he says. Now, the obvious question is, who said that voice? And why wouldn't you pay attention to it if that voice is a voice from Hashem? If Hashem is saying, hey, this is what you guys should do, wouldn't he be the one to decide? Wouldn't Hashem be have the authority to, what?
Finish the story.
Yeah. So I'm going to get there. So some commentaries say that this was a test. This was a test. It wasn't really a voice from heaven. It was just it looked like it was a voice from heaven. It sounded like it was a voice from heaven. And yesterday in the shul, it sounded like it was raining outside. I know the air conditioning something, like late at night. It was like sound like it was raining. It wasn't raining. Maybe they thought it was a voice from heaven. It sounded like a voice from heaven, but it wasn't really a voice from heaven. So it happened to me already a few times that I said the bracha for lightning, and it wasn't really lightning. Thunder, it wasn't really thunder. Whatever. L'chaim. So that's what some commentaries say, that there was a test. Hashem was challenging them. The problem with that explanation is that right afterwards, as you just mentioned, there was another part of the story. They meet Elijah the prophet, and they ask Elijah the prophet, they ask Eliyahu Navi, what was Hashem doing when we ruled against that voice from heaven? And Eliyahu Navi said, Hashem was smiling, and Hashem said, Natzchuni b'nei natzchun, my children were victorious over me. Hashem had a lot of nachas, a lot of pleasure, a lot of satisfaction that you ruled against them. So clearly, that voice was an authentic voice that came from heaven, and Hashem is saying, I appreciate that you followed the halacha despite the fact that there was a voice from heaven, a real voice from heaven to the contrary. But that leads us to more questions. So why should they ignore the voice of Hashem? And why is Hashem happy that they are ignoring his voice? We have a similar concept in another Gemara, where it discusses the laws of a baheres. If someone's skin contracts the disease called tsaras, where his skin is discolored, and one of the signs that this disease is causes impurity is a hair that grows out of this lesion, this baheres. So the question is, what's the halacha if the hair precedes the lesion? So then it's not a sign of impurity. What if you don't know which came first, the lesion or the white hair? So the Talmud says there's a discussion. Hashem says it's pure, but the other members of the heavenly court disagree. And what happens? If you look in halacha, there are many opinions that rule against Hashem's opinion. Hashem has his opinion, and halacha follows another opinion. So again, the same question, what does that mean? Hashem has an opinion, we follow a different opinion. So if you look carefully at the words of Rabbi Yeshua, we get some inkling to the answer. Rabbi Yeshua says the Torah was given at Mount Sinai. We learned last couple of classes about the performance of Torah prior to Mount Sinai versus the giving the Torah at Mount Sinai, what changed. And something about the change of what Torah became at Sinai is what determines our attention not to the voices of heaven, but the voices on earth. So what exactly changed, and why does that, what happened at Mount Sinai that makes us ignore the voices of heaven? So to understand this, let's look at another passage in the Talmud. Talmud says that when Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel have a disagreement, Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim chayim. Both opinions are the words of the living God. They're both saying the words of Hashem. Now the obvious question is, how could they both be saying the words of Hashem? They're saying the opposite things. Either Hashem said this or Hashem said that. The Gemara says that when Hashem gave the monarchy to King David, King Shaul protested and he said, anything you think that King David has, my son has it better. Until Hashem said that what King David has is, what virtue he has is that Hashem is with him, meaning halacha follows his opinion. And that Shohat to concede that was unique to King David, to David HaMelech. So what is the meaning of the words of Hashem having various opinions, and yet halacha following one opinion? What does that mean? So if you look carefully in the Gemara uses different words, different names of Hashem. When the Gemara says there are different opinions, the Gemara says, and they're both true, the Gemara says both are the words of the living Elokim, living Hashem, yes, but the word that's used is Elokim. When the Gemara says that the halacha follows King David, it says Yud Kei Vav Kei, Hashem is with him. The name Yud Kei Vav Kei, the name of Hashem. So Chassidus explains that the name Elokim is a name of Hashem which means concealment. It's a name which is connected to a lower, limited light of Hashem, energy of Hashem. Yes, it's godly, but it's a light in the energy of Hashem which is more associated with creation, animating creation, or close to animating creation, versus Yud Kei Vav Kei, the name of Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei, the 7 names of Hashem. That name means the name of Hashem's very essence. That's a name that denotes Hashem himself. Elokim is a name of Hashem which is about concealment, about contraction, about Hashem's light being filtered in a certain way. But Yud Kei Vav Kei is about Hashem's essence. So Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, let's go back to them. Why does Beis Shammai follow a certain opinion? Why does Beis Hillel follow a certain opinion? You're getting a call, Rabbi Yosef. Chaim Baruch.
I'll call you back. You know, we're in the middle of this year. I'll call you back. Thank you.
It goes by automatically, though.
Okay.
At least it should. Actually, maybe I'll just double check and open it. Okay, shkech. Oh, guess not. So when we talk about Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel having disagreement, Beis Shammai's view is not just a logical view. Beis Shammai's view has to do with where his soul is from. Beis Shammai's soul is from the attribute of Hashem's gvura, of Hashem's judgment. Beis Hillel, the members of the academy of Hillel, their souls gravitated to Hillel and to his opinion because their souls came from the attribute of Hashem's kindness. And that's why they ruled always to be lenient. So which would you say about Hashem's chesed or Hashem's gvura? Would you say it's one is more true than the other? Hashem's chesed is true, Hashem's gvura is true. Hashem is an attribute of kindness, Hashem is an attribute of justice. They're both godly, true things. On the other hand, they're not Hashem's essence. that the way Hashem projects to the world, Hashem relates to His creations with His kindness, but it's not Hashem's essence. However, the name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, that name of Hashem has to do with Hashem's very essence, Hashem's very core. So halacha that is given in Mount Sinai, when Hashem gave us the Torah, Hashem gave the Torah from His very essence. The attributes of Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, and when the Gemara talks about a voice from heaven, those are all true things. Those are all godly things. But emes lamite, truth of truth, is halacha. Emes lamite is halacha. Halacha is a higher kind of truth. What's the meaning that halacha is a higher kind of truth? Let's when in the language of people we say lower truth, higher truth. It's not the same as in Torah when we say lower truth, higher truth. When a person says to you, this is true, but this is more true, you know that what they said before was a lie. It wasn't true. This is more true means it's not really true. The other thing I said wasn't really true. So obviously when we say about Hashem that this is emes amid, the truth of truth, this is only truth, obviously doesn't mean the same thing. But what does it mean? When Hashem promised Moshe Rabbeinu that He would redeem the Jewish people from Egypt, He said to Moshe Rabbeinu, I am Hashem, and I'm going to take the Jewish people out of Egypt. And Rashi explains, I am Hashem, I am Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, unlike the way I reveal myself to our forefathers before, I only reveal myself in the name of Elakel and Shakai and Elokim. I only reveal myself with a lower kind of light, a lower kind of revelation. However, now Hashem says, before I never revealed my true attributes, and now my promise to be fulfilled because this is my true attribute. Yud-Kei Vav-Kei is my true attribute. Obviously, although Hashem, those are the words Hashem is using, obviously the other ones are also true. So we need to understand what exactly is the difference between the truth of Havaya and the truth of the other names of Hashem. But suffice it to say, for our purposes now, Mitzvah Hashem, next classes, we'll get into it. For our purposes now, let's say this, that the Gemara says, whatever any Torah scholar, ever true Torah scholar, who, based upon the rules of Torah, discovers a new insight in Torah, that new insight in Torah was already given to us at Mount Sinai. And the Gemara says that when you study the Torah, you study not the words of Moshe Rabbeinu, you study the words of the Rambam, you study the words of Abaye and Rava, you say a bracha, you say, blessed are you, Hashem who gave us the Torah. This is Hashem's Torah. It's included in the revelation of Hashem at Mount Sinai, it's also Torah. But we find that, let's say the Rambam has opinions that he has maintained certain positions that he has retracted. We find in the Gemara itself that an opinion is presented, a question is asked, and the sage who posed the opinion originally changes his stance, and even more. The Gemara says, I think it was Rabbi Lazar, the Gemara says, Rabbi Lazar Bedutihi, or Beruti, different texts, and with the Gemara, what exactly the response was to his opinion. But it wasn't good. Your opinion is ridiculous. So, let's say you were busy, and you wanted to study Torah for a few seconds, and you said a blessing before studying the Torah, and you only ripped that line, the line of Rabbi Lazar's opinion, the line that he retracted, the line that is considered ridiculous, and you only have time to say that line of Torah. Should you say a bracha before saying that line of Torah? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So how could you say it? A bracha of Torah. It's a bracha. This is God's Torah. God's opinion is ridiculous. Obviously, this is not God's opinion. Otherwise, it wouldn't be ridiculous. Rabbi Yitzchak, his father, writes that anything you learn in the Talmud, any opinion, you should know that those are the words of Hashem Mount Sinai. And even the opinion of someone who the Gemara rejects, and the Gemara says, Beduti, that's ridiculous, that's off. Hashem himself said the opinion. And Hashem himself says that it's ridiculous. So, how could it be true and ridiculous at the same time? Compared to one level of truth, this is absolute truth. Going to a higher level of truth, then it's ridiculous. Again, what exactly is the difference between them? So, for our purposes today, let's just say that there is a way godliness is contracted, and then there's the essence of godliness, the essence of Hashem. So
Wouldn't it be the same thing as what happened by Yom Rishon and Chava? I mean, if Hashem really did want him to eat the Eitz Chaim, then the Eitz Das, it wouldn't have happened.
that's already getting into about a human being making a decision. Hashem, yeah, but there is some similar paradoxical questions over there as well. Hashem says, "Don't eat from the tree." Yet the plan of Hashem is they're going to eat from the tree. That's Hashem's plan.
It is.
Here the focus is on the word truth. We could say about man's decisions that man makes mistakes. Yeah, it doesn't answer the question. But just you touched on it just very very briefly. Chassidus says that man can make a decision about what he's going to do. The impact of his decision, is governed by divine providence. And so although a person will do the opposite of the will of Hashem, the sin is the opposite of the will of Hashem. Yet the production, the consequences that man happens as a result of that decision are governed by Hashem, and therefore
that's what you just said a minute ago about Bedusa. Hashem says there's Bedusa. Hashem has to make it Bedusa, otherwise it's not.
Right.
Otherwise it would be true.
Right. So let's just say for today, we're in the middle of the 9 days, we're about to see the coming of Mashiach and the building of the Beis Hamikdash. Yaakov Avinu, when he came to the place of the Beis Hamikdash, Yaakov Avinu said, "Leis de Nasar Hadiet." So this is not a regular place. This is a place of Hashem. Leis de Nasar Hadiet. So Chassidus explains that what's unique about the place of the Beis Hamikdash is that the holiness of Hashem is not just a holiness that is transferred through that place, but that place itself is holy. There's a discussion about the way the Shekhinah rests in the Beis Hamikdash. Does the Shekhinah rest in the Beis Hamikdash the way that, let's talk about transfers of information in ourselves between our souls to our brains versus our brains to paper. If you want to convey ideas you have in your mind to a piece of paper, it goes through your hand. But does your hand itself understand the same idea that your mind does? The answer is no. Your hand is just a conduit to transfer the information. However, the information that your brain has, which is coming from your soul, that's something which comes part and parcel of your brain. Your brain itself is thinking. So in a similar way, there's a discussion about the way the Shekhinah rests in the temple.
So your brain can develop it into creative, whatever it is. Your hand can't do that.
Your brain can think. Your hand can't think. So when the neshama is in your body and you're thinking, your brain is thinking. But when you're writing something down, your hand isn't understanding what you're writing. Just a conduit. So when the place of Beis Hamikdash, is it a conduit for the Shekhinah, or is the Shekhinah actually resting there? So it says that the Shekhinah is actually resting there. The Rabbi said famously that emes, that truth is something that is recognizable from every angle. If something is true, it's from every angle. So when we talk about Hashem resting in Beis Hamikdash, Chassidus maintains it can't just be that it's just a conduit for godly light to go through, but it itself doesn't become holy, because then it's missing in the truth of the experience. It has to be, as Yaakov said, Leis Dein Asar Hadiet. This place itself is not a regular place. This place itself is holy. This is because of the truth of the Shekhinah resting in that place. It itself becomes a holy place. The physical reality has to change. And similarly, when we talk about Emes Hashem Le'elam, Chassidus talks about the verse, Hashem is truth forever. Chassidus explains the word forever also can mean to the world. Hashem's truth is something which is recognizable and noticeable in the physical world itself, not just something which is in heaven. If it's true, it's in the physical world itself. So halacha, which is what we do in the physical world itself, is connected to Hashem's very essence, and it's what we follow, what we do in the physical world. Yes, there are other opinions which are godly energies and godly truths, but the emes amite, the Hashem's very essence, is connected to halacha. Hashem will get more into it in the next classes.
Rabbi Eliezer, wasn't he going into harem after this?
What?
Was it Elazar or Eliezer?
Eliezer.
Eliezer.